When I started racing and they didn't spray the tracks or do anything like that, you would burn out the tire, but it would recover out maybe 100, 150 feet, depending on how much power you had, because the track was dry. It wasn't sprayed. Today, that's why anytime they get the tires loose, it's all over. They just park and the other guy wins the race. And I never really was for a sprayed track. If I was in control of drag racing, I wouldn't spray the tracks anymore. They'd have to run on a dry track.
Do you do anything different with the clutch management between a burnout and a run?
No, you don't do anything different from that. What happens is that the pedal has a button down on the bottom of it. When you go full throttle, that button activates all the timers, and that starts everything working, the clutch management, the fuel management, the ignition management. But when you do the burnout, there's a stop that the crew chief puts on the throttle so you can't go all the way to the floorboard. So you actually make that burnout with about a quarter throttle, and so which is plenty. And so then he goes up and pulls that stop off of the injector, and also he sets it a little bit richer at that time. He moves a little dial on the barrel valve and it enriches it. And then also you inside the cockpit, there's the fuel shutoff valves, and they're only set half closed when you're doing the burnout. And you keep them that way all the way through until he signals you to go to the starting line, and as you move to the starting line, you go to full fuel. And that's when you see the wet stuff start coming out, because what happens is the engine is under no load and doesn't need a rich mixture. And the moment that clutch engages, as the engine is running about 2,700 RPM, and you step down on it, and within 1/10 of a second, it's 8,000 RPM. And of course that puts tremendous pressure on the clutch pack, because the arms, it's a centrifugal clutch. And so that load comes on the motor within 1/10 of a second. There's no way for the system to give you that fuel curve like you want in that length of time. So what they do, they enrich the engine tremendously just before the engagement of the clutch, and so that the fuel curve is ahead of the clutch. And that was one of the big tricks of how they got such tremendous launch speeds, is having so much fuel there. And you would see it, we found that out by accident, actually, to start with, by being real rich, by